Hey guys, it's Jozy here back again with another video. Now, today we're going through a concept that has helped me literally scale slash grow significantly faster while being more profitable in my agency. And I wanted to go through this because a lot of people in the agency space are always talking about, oh my God, we need to scale. We always need to scale. We need to just pump, 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 pump. And there is a time and place for that, but what I've realized, and I'm going to show you today, is how scaling can actually not be as fun or as profitable as you like it to be, and why I've changed my mindset from scaling to growing. Okay, now. If you know who I am, my name is Jozy. Other people call me Jozy. I've scaled my own agency from 0 to 50K per month in under 90 days. Now helping building a seven-figure consulting company, helping other agency owners do the same. We're now booking around north of like 20 appointments a day from our systems right now, and yeah, I've gone through the scaling part, and now I'm going through the growing part, and I want to just share with you my experience and kind of my mindset shift when it comes to tackling business in this sort of way. So here I've got a graph in terms of profit and time. So scaling, and usually the scaling term is more noticeable in kind of technology companies like Salesforce or IT or SaaS companies. They tend to scale. And what I realized that people that tend to scale, and then of course the scaling is the dotted one and the growing is more of the just line one. When people tend to scale, right? They actually start pumping money, whether that be in a new acquisition system or new marketing, new sales. They tend to really start pumping money and pumping money and pumping money. And what happens to the profit? The profit actually starts to die down, right? And that's because every money that you make from the agency, you invest straight away into the into the agency back here, right? So it feels like you're making a lot of revenue, right? You may see the revenue numbers go up, but your expenses literally start going up at the same time, right? And now when you're in business, especially when you're doing like more of a service-based industry, right? It's really a cash flow business, right? That's what I always tell my clients, like this, especially this type of model, is more of a cash flow to make sure that you have money in the bank today. You're okay for today, right? The next 2 or 3 months, you're building up that nest egg. So then when you go into more of like, let's say, exiting type businesses like SaaS, more technology, AI, right? You have a lot of money to play with. Okay. So when people are trying to like scale their agency, they just go and just start spending all their profit, reinvesting, right? But never look at it in terms of, let's say, how much money, how much profit are we actually taking out of the business as shareholders, right? And especially if you're doing a service-based business, you need to pay yourself as a shareholder. And a lot of people never talk about this because they're like scale. But at the end of the day, what are you scaling for? Like right now, like if you're making 20K per month, but you only spend 2K per month on yourself, right? Or you only take 2K per month home, right? Like what's the point? You've just made 20K per month business for 2K per month salary when you could have just got that from working a job, right? And I personally don't want to run my business like that, especially service based or like info product businesses. I don't want to run that like that. Like this is a cash flowing business. It's supposed to provide cash flow for the person who's taking the risk, right? And even people like Alex Amosi, when he was scaling his agencies back in the day, right, he never used to take profit. And when he actually died all them agencies down, he was left with nothing, right? And I've just made a rule for myself not to be left with nothing. Like once you're scaling the agency, you must be taking money out. You must be paying yourself a nice wage because you're the one taking all these bloody risks, right? You're the one that if everything goes wrong, boom, like if the book stops with you, okay? So essentially the main mindset that I had, right, comes in two ways. So scaling is you'll have the mindset of reinvesting mindset, not taking profits for yourself. And once you actually scale, what I've seen in myself, it gets operationally complex because there's so many moving parts that are moving at the same time. You're adding fuel to the same thing. And it means that you're actually, like things starts to break because you're operationally making it more complex than it has to be, right? And I'm trying to have this more mindset shift in terms of business, that business is really simple if you allow it to be simple, right? People come into business and make it more complex than it has to be, but the mindset that I've gone through is a very simple process. You just need to allow yourself to look at it as simple, right? And this may be very confusing to you guys. And yes, at start, it's going to be hard. I'm not going to say that at start, it's going to be this easy. But once you get to a certain level, where let's say you cross a 10, 20K per month barrier, the whole goal of it is to make it as simple as possible, right? And turn all these complex systems into very simplistic system. And in order for you to really make a system simple, you need to spend time with it, right? You need to look at it and break it down to the first principles. And a lot of people are not doing this because they're trying to scale, they're trying to hit the next revenue, they're trying to hit the next, they're trying to hit the next revenue. And yes, you are going to hit the next revenue even if you're growing, right? But it just may take a bit longer than you like it to be. But not only that, because it takes a bit longer, people are like, oh my God, it's going to take me an extra one or 2 months or 3 months, right? But what you're doing is actually stabilizing that revenue. Like now you have a system that can withhold, let's say 50K per month revenue for a long period of time. Right? Not a system that goes to 80K, then goes back to 20K, that goes back to 30K, that goes back to 100K, right? And it goes up and down like a yo-yo. No, you're going to 50K per month. You've maintained that for 2 or 3 months, and then you can go up to that 100K per month, 50K, 70K per month, maintain that, 100K per month, maintain that, right? So then you're actually building a sustainable business rather than just a pump and dump business, okay? Now, especially for the founder, when you're in the scaling mindset, your bandwidth is like all over the place. Like you're hiring this guy, this is moving, you're doing this system, you're doing that system, you're doing this system, and you're trying to like do like 10 things at once. When in reality, like you could just do one thing, but be really, really good at it, right? And just scale it as high as possible. Like for now, I'll give you an example. So we're currently scaling on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn has been a very good acquisition channel for us, right? And I had a chance to try out SMS outreach, okay? Now SMS outreach worked extremely well for us, and we are using it more of like a multi-channel approach right now. However, there is a chance for us to go on SMS, right? And actually just do 1,000 SMS a day, which we're gonna do that one day, right? I'm not saying that we're not gonna do that. We are gonna do it. However, for me, it was a shiny object, and I seen it as a shiny object. That'll be the best way. I seen it as a shiny object because we already had LinkedIn pumping 200 plus appointments per month, right? So for me, I'd rather just double what we're doing LinkedIn and go to 400 appointments, which I know how it works. I've seen all the monsters on LinkedIn. I know exactly how to scale the system as well as the email, right? I've seen all the monsters on email, right? And to make that better is not going to take me as much bandwidth as to open up a whole new acquisition channel, right? And even though for me, it seems easy for me, right? Because I've been doing this for a few years, like I know actually how to do it, right? And it seems like a pretty easy. For me, it wouldn't really take me that much time. I know it wouldn't take me that much time. However, it will add another complexity because with a new system comes new SOPs, comes a new hire, comes all these little intricacies that you don't see from the get-go, but from someone that's built 2-3 systems that are currently working right now, right? I know there's way more than meets the eye when you're first looking at a new system, right? And of course, the account setup, lead targeting, everything is like that. It's just, it comes, it's a lot more complex, right? And it's a lot more expensive because you're going to build a system, especially, let's say for the SMS, I'll have to buy numbers, right? And numbers are not cheap, right? You need to buy numbers and you need to get that data. And yeah, but it's a system that we are going to do. But like I said, the mindset that I've changed now is more of a growing where I don't need to do the systems right now. I can just scale the current system that we have. And then once the time is right, then I can go into a new system. Okay. So another thing is basics get overlooked. Now, when you are scaling, right, things are moving so fast that things as simple as like managing your data or keeping track of your data or doing end of day reports, because you as a founder is so like your bandwidth is so messed up, right? You're overlooking the basics of what needs to happen in the day-to-day, rather than be reports, data tracking, reviewing sales calls, right, with your sales guys. You're doing a lot of like the basics of business. You are overlooking it because you're moving too fast, right? You're moving too fast, which things are breaking. Basics are not getting overlooked, and it feels like you're growing, let's say, appointments or revenue, but you're not actually increasing profits, right? And you're not actually increasing the main thing, right? Is the bottom line. Okay, now, as I mentioned, revenue is growing, profit is shrinking. You have money, but you feel broke, right? Because all the money you're making is going back into the business. So on Stripe, it looks like you have money, but in your bank account, it feels like you're broke. It feels like, oh my God, you can't pay the wages because you spent all that money scaling. Whereas if you would have taken a bit slower, right? And like people have this misconception that like it has to be 0 to 100. And I had that as well. Like I was the best at 0 to 100, right? But then I realized like, it's fine going from 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, right? And then exponentially go from 6 to 8 or 6 to 10 basically, right? Because that's how it looks like. It's more of an exponential curve. So it goes from like 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 5, 5 to 8, 8 to 12, right? And that's like the exponential curve about it. And that's fine because at least you feel that coming, right? Whereas if you're just trying to go from 0 to 100, it's more like things will break, okay? Now, expenses starts getting really, really fat. Now you're spending so much money on things that you didn't even know you're spending money on, right? And you're not able to really shrink down and lean the process as much as possible. And that's why, again, it's going to be more complex when it comes to like your systems, and you're just going to be building a more complex business. It feels chaotic, right? It feels chaotic because everything is going now. Business is always going to feel chaotic. I'm not saying it's never going to feel chaotic. However, you're making it way more chaotic than it needs to be, right? You're just adding more chaos to the already chaos that there is. Okay, customers' results and experience starts dropping because you're moving so fast that like you don't respond to customers on time, things like that, right? And what you're also going to be built with is having half-built systems because you're trying to build one system and you're not really seeing the full extent of that system, and you feel like it's the full extent, then you just try to build the other one, like the SMS example that I just gave you. Okay, and that's what scaling is. And scaling, I just feel like it's rushed growth. Okay, so you're trying to rush the growth. You're trying to like there's like for example, if you're trying to lose weight, right? You're trying to go from eating 5,000 calories to eating 1,000 calories. Like yes, you're gonna lose so much weight in the forefront, but as soon as you like stop going on that diet, you're gonna put all the weight back, right? The same thing here. You're gonna scale in the forefront, but because you can't maintain it, your revenue is gonna drop back down. Okay, so this is where a lot of people are doing, and yes, this does feel exciting. It is shiny object. However, for me, I didn't want to take my business in terms of that way. I wanted to go more of a growing mindset, right? So growing mindset for me is actually taking profits and paying yourself from the business. And not only that, like making sure that it's a profit-driven business. Like I think the first book that helped me with that is Profit First. So Profit First just talks about how entrepreneurs these days don't even pay themselves. And I'm like that is crazy. Like imagine like you leave your job, you go through the hard road of entrepreneurship, you destroy so many good relationships that you could have had, right? Not just to pay yourself a minimum wage. I'm like, bro, that doesn't make sense, right? If you're in this game, right, and bearing in mind, like a lot of businesses fail, if you're in this game, you might as well make money from this game while you're still playing it, okay? And that's just my selfish view. Take it as you will. If you want to reinvest everything, by all means do it. But for me, I'd rather pay myself and actually have a business that pays me, right? And also pays my employees, but essentially pays me because we're the one actually taking the risk. I'm not saying like make up like 100K, spend all the way on a bloody holiday and stuff, but just make sure you set yourself a nice wage that you aspire to be at and actually strive to actually pay yourself that wage, rather be take 10K a month take home, 20K a month take home, depending on your lifestyle, how materialistic you are, right? Actually doing that. So keep it at the forefront while you're actually growing the business instead of scaling the business. Now, the next thing, you keep things simple. You keep things simple. You actually make sure that everything in your business is simple. You remove bottlenecks from your business because you can feel it. You can actually feel and this sounds weird, but you can feel it, like the heart beating of the business. You can feel where the bottlenecks are, where people are getting stuck, right? You can make the right adjustments in terms of SOPs and everything, right? And then next thing is making sure your metrics are on point. So the business feels more relaxed because you're seeing the metrics of the business. You're tracking every single thing in excruciating detail. So the business seems more relaxed. If it makes you feel less anxious in the business, you're not waking up with bloody anxiety every day. You're actually just being in flow with the business because you're growing with the pace of the business instead of trying to rush the growth. Okay. And next thing is that you have clear bandwidth and you have long-term thinking. Like you can think long-term, you can make better decisions because you're more poised, you're more calm, right? You're not taking things like things need to get done today because at the end of the day, you're profiting. And this comes in about profiting. Like profit is sanity, right? Revenue, I forgot there's a metric, but said profit is sanity, right? Because once you start profiting way more from the business, like a deal can come by and you can help them prosper, but you just know it's not the right deal for them. So you can just say, you know what, like let's just move it along. Or perhaps the sales guy doesn't close that day, right? And instead of you saying, man, I need to get another sales guy, this guy's not for me, you're looking at it and you're like, why did he not close? Have you been reviewing his calls? What did he say specifically about it, right? And because let's say even if you get worst case like refund, right, comes through, because you're profiting so much, you're like, you know what, it's not going to affect my mood. We can still grow and do things and stick to the plan, right? And when you don't have a clear bandwidth or your bandwidth is spread thin, like sticking to the plan is very hard because like the plan can always change, right? Well, the plan does change, I understand, right? But you're making it unnecessarily change. You're making it change unnecessarily, right? And that's the thing, okay? So the next thing is you're doing the basics. You're doing the basics, just auditing. Make sure the team is also doing the basics if you have a team. And you actually like the biggest thing is auditing, giving training, giving feedback, actually looking at ways you can make your meetings more effective or remove meetings, add meetings depending on what you're doing. Your expenses in your team are lean, right? You cut down all the waste because you're like, man, we don't really need this much, right? Let's actually cut down all the waste and actually just stick to the people or to the highest performance of the team and actually scale this, right? Next thing, you don't feel rushed, right? You don't feel rushed. You feel like you have control of the business. You feel like you have the power to adjust levers and make your business feel like you're more in control of it. And next thing is you have great customer results, okay? Because you actually take time, the customers are actually there. You can see the customers' results coming in. You can talk to them. You can give them extra support, right? And then again, this is actually going to be helping you scale the business even further. And last thing is you have 1 to 2 great systems. So that could be you're really good on LinkedIn, you're really good on email, you're really good on Facebook, you're really good on ads. But that system is ripping it, like it's literally giving you 80% of your revenue, right? Because you've just nailed that system down to the T, and you've actually done everything. I'm not talking about just a system to generate appointments, leads. I'm talking about how the leads are converted into sales, right? And that system just works extremely, extremely well. I mean, every single time that the lead comes in, you know how much it costs for you to acquire that lead. You know with predictability, because you tracked all your metrics, how many appointments you need to actually close a sale from all the closes that you had. And the best way I can say this, because I remember, right, I had a closer, right, and my first closer, Josh, if you're watching this, you're a G. My closer, Josh, he came in the business, and I remember a lot of my friends around the time, and my friends are also business agency info owners as well. A lot of my friends wanted to skip the process of training a sales rep, right? And I remember when Josh was coming, he had a very good month at the start, and then the second month wasn't as good. He went for a little slump, which is totally fine, right? And at that time, I could have said, oh my God, let's get another sales rep. Or I could have said, oh, I don't want to deal with this. Let me hire a sales coach to train him, okay? And because I wanted to grow the business and I was okay sticking through it, right? And actually jumping on calls with him every single day, reviewing his calls every single day, talking mindset, giving pep talks every single day. Like I tried every single thing myself because I knew I wanted to grow the business. I didn't want to scale it. I didn't want to rush it, right? I wanted to say, hey, this is the bottleneck that we're in. Let's sit with this bottleneck, right? And a lot of people don't want to sit with problems, right? I was like, let's sit with this problem and actually let's fix it. And let's do every single thing that we can to fix this bottleneck. And then once we've gone through that period, right, he just started closing crazy, right? He was closing 30, 40% consistently, right? And ever since then, he never really needed me as much because I went through that growth work. I went there and I stayed in that pocket. And a lot of people, and what I mean, rushing growth, they're trying to they're trying to basically pay their way through or rush the way through the bottleneck, rush the way through the problems instead of sitting with it and actually learning how to solve it and actually becoming a better, more intellectual business owner, right? And that's why, for me, sitting with the problem, actually growing with it is actually what's going to help us scale to the next level. And not only that, actually feel confident as we're scaling it. Because a lot of people have imposter syndrome. And for me, it's like they got to a level really quick and they're like, oh my God, we're here. And like, oh my God, I didn't even know I have imposter syndrome because of that. But the way what I'm looking at it now is like we're growing this, and every single stage is going to be a demon, and we're going to face that demon. We're going to get the belt of facing that demon, and it's going to make me feel confident as more. The business owner is going to feel the team feel more confident as well, right? So growing again is calculated growth, and yeah, that is essentially it. So I want to just put this down just to a few people. If you're thinking about scaling, just think of it as growing, right? I just think of it as growing the business and being okay of your current bottlenecks and like being normalizing it, like, and actually looking to fix it efficiently, but also being able to stick in that pocket, not actually running away from the problems, because there's always going to be problems in every single part of the business, every single stage. And people who go through it are the people who like grow into it and actually just face it head on. And people that try to rush it are going to realize the problem isn't actually fixed. They just put a bandage over it, and then once revenue drops down, they're stuck with the same problem. Okay, so that's it. If you need help scaling and actually, I'll say growing now, your agency, there is a link for us to chat below. And yeah, that's all it for me, and catch you later. Bye.